In 2022, we saw 1.75 million hours of sewage pumped into rivers, lakes and seas in our country. And if you think that's bad, a year later, in 2023, it more than doubled to 3.6 million hours.
All that I have is a river. The river is always my home. Lord, take me away, for I just cannot stay. I sink in my skin and my bones. The water sustains me without even trying. The water can't drown me, I'm done with my dying.
That is a whole bag of Pret coffee cups. Pret, what are you doing?
Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers. Oh, the Wombles are here. Excellent. I love the Wombles.
I think where we hand the water in is way down.
There's some fishermen here. Brought their nets. Spoken to a few people talking about how it affects them. They're swimmers, and it's horrendous. Where they used to be able to swim, where they lived on the coast, now they're having to travel miles just to find a clean spot to swim without getting ill in the poo that's in the sea. It's so bad, so bad. Lots of filming, broadcasting, talking about LBC, people from the BBC. Yes, hopefully you get some good coverage. Here comes Chris Packham, riding out. Surf's not up. Surfers Against Sewage. They've been on the scene for years. I haven't seen too many fishermen, which is disappointing, unless they're fishing. We picked the wrong day. Everyone's out fishing. Should be here. Got Johnny Flynn down there. I love him. From the Detectorists. He's not from the Detectorists. He wrote the song, and he's in tons of films, and he's out here supporting us today. And just like that, there's tons of us. There's so many people. Lots of latecomers, but wow. Oh, I love this outfit. Check that out. Yeah, we'll do it again.
We need you to be our voice. We want change.
Can't escape the bubbles.
What do we want? Clean water! When do we want it? Now! Louder! What do we want? Clean water! When do we want it? Now! Species, not feces! Species, not feces! Get off the plastic invertebrates. Go round on every and oceans deep.
I'm hoping we're going to see your daughter and you jump in because you'll need it.
One person for every river is doing that.
Avon and the River Sharon. All of our rivers are in such a state. I'm from the Wye. And the Wye, we have curate that we have species, not feces!
What do we want? Clean water! Clean water! What do we want now? Rivers needed here!
River Song. River Song is ebb and flow, flow and ebb, deep pool and shallow bed, salt and fresh eddy current, the spiral, the tongue, the blue, blue torrent. River rises as spring and source, river pools as lake and loch, river plunges as fall and as force. The river is the path that walks. Wissy, Waveney, Weir and Weaver, Wagtail, Willow, Trout and Lamprey, Salmon, Beaver, Crowsfoot, Mayfly, Lark and Tamar, Torrid, Boy. But then they gave the orders and turned the waters to sink and sunk, to stink and dump from hill to sea. Suits and boardrooms made ghosts of gods, turned river song to elegy.
Have travelled from every corner of the nation to be here. And a special call out for those who boarded the 3 a.m. Services Against Sewage coach in Truro this morning. And also an enormous call out to Joe Emmett, Dave Prosser Painting and Will Shipley. They started today by running a full marathon down the banks of the Thames so they could join us at the start of the march. We also have a sister march taking place as we speak across the water in Belfast, organised by our good friends of Save Lough Neagh.
The executing judge said of their offences that they had been motivated by a desire to focus the company's attention on the metrics that increase their income. Shortly after, following a public meeting with Southern Water, 10 angry swimmers voiced their frustrations in the pub. And with a mission to stop the sewage, SOS Whitstable was born. Naive, yes, but we were not alone. Up and down the country, other campaign groups just like us were having exactly the same conversations. In 2022, we saw 1.75 million hours of sewage pumped into rivers, lakes and seas in our country. And if you think that's bad, a year later, in 2023, it more than doubled to 3.6 million hours. All of the water companies are currently under criminal investigation, whilst drowning under £64 billion worth of debt. And yet somehow they've also managed to pay out £78 billion in dividends to shareholders. Does Australian investment company Macquarie care about our beautiful beaches? Do Canadian pension funds care that the fish in our beautiful chalk streams have disappeared? Of course not. They do not see what's happening here. And of course, they're getting paid regardless. It's clear that privatisation has failed. It's time for change, and we need it fast. Clean water is a necessity for all life on Earth, and it should not be a commodity sold to the highest bidder. The government must do their duty and enforce the law. We must not pay higher bills that only enable the water companies to continue to pollute our environment. Today must mark the beginning of our joint efforts to put an end to this outrage. We must not stop the fight. Do not let your MPs sleep until they support you. Support campaign groups. Start campaign groups. Sign petitions. Keep shouting, and together we will make change happen.
Can I just get down there?
Water connects us all. We must protect it like our lives depend on it, because they do. Thank you.
We know that the solution to the problem is better regulation, better accountability, and it can only be achieved by the renationalisation of these companies. Ofwat have failed to do their job for 35 years. Surely now is the time to renationalise and take back the tap. A campaign launched by the GMB in 2016. In 2023, 3.6 million hours of sewage spilled into our beautiful beaches, rivers and waterways. That's a 105% increase since 2022. They tell us that they're getting better at it. No, they're not. We share a responsibility for the future generations to stop pumping raw sewage into our beautiful rivers, lakes. We must stop this now. We must stop this now. We must stop this now. I'm sure that many of you on this march today have children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren who enjoy playing on the beach and having a puddle, and they now find themselves in a situation that they could be left building a sandcastle or a poo castle. What do we want? Sandcastles, not poo castles.
If we look across the landscape of the UK, we have seen intensification of livestock systems in certain areas and certain watercourses. This isn't always the farmer's fault, but it's the farming system and the supply chain. Unfortunately, farmers are receiving very small returns on the products they're producing, but they're encouraged through contracts and supply chains to squeeze more production, which is meaning more pollution, more environmental harm, more poo getting in our rivers.
We are nature, and how we live on this earth affects these connections, and now we know the undeniable truth, and we're all here to say today that the game is up. Intensive industries, corporate greed and political systems unfit for purpose are destroying the planet's life support systems that we rely on to thrive, and blatantly disregarding our fundamental human rights for societal well-being. The UK is supposedly the 6th most powerful country in the world, according to a measure that was never designed for that purpose, GDP, that we still adhere to. But we have human sewage and toxic agricultural runoff polluting 100% of our waterways in England. Is this really what success looks like? No, it isn't. We are not consumers to be used to prop up a corrupt system favouring just 1% of the population. We are humans who feel, who love, who dream, who think, a species existing for the tiniest blink of an eye in the planet's history, so closely related to each other, all hailing from the same small spot in Africa. We are so deeply connected to each other, and all of us deserve a healthy natural world so that all of life can thrive. Today, you are making your voices heard, harnessing the power of community and connection, and when we come together, great things can happen. And the thing is, so many great things are already happening all around the world, from powerful gatherings like this that we know have helped to end so many unjust systems in our history, to environmental law organisations and citizens coming together to hold polluters and governments to account and winning cases all the time, all around the world, to ecological economists working to transform the economy so it doesn't wreck the planet, to business communities already coming together to prioritise nature above profits and infinite growth. All of them proving that true success, true progress, and the health of the planet are not mutually exclusive. That it is entirely possible to have a thriving natural world, a thriving society, and a thriving economy. When you go home after this empowering, amazing gathering, please share the story of today and share everything you've heard and are learning about from all our amazing speakers today. Talk about all of this far and wide. And also tell the stories of the extraordinary young humans who have come here today to speak up for their rivers, for their lakes and their coastlines, and who are already showing us what true leadership looks like.
I'm Benjamin Fallow. Thanks for listening to me today. Water is life and we can't survive without it. I painted this to show how our rivers can be if they're not polluted. On our local river, I've seen dragonflies, damselflies, cormorants, geese, and once I saw a kingfisher. I've been hoping to see one all my life, and that flash of colour, the brightest blue, was incredible. Sir David Attenborough said, all wildlife is dependent on water, but our rivers and seas in the UK are in trouble. At the moment, raw sewage, chemical pollutants and farm waste are dumped into our waterways. Every single river is polluted. They're so polluted they present major risks to human health and massive damage to nature. We're asking the government to end the poisoning of our rivers, lakes and seas. You are the people with the power to stop polluting our waterways so that wildlife, nature and us children can thrive. We're here asking you to fight for clean water and our future. We're not separate from nature, we're part of nature too, and we can't survive without it.
One thing we all can do is definitely trying to restore our wetlands and woodlands, which naturally reduce pollution. Another thing the government can do is making more green spaces in our towns and cities, which naturally reduce the excess water and in turn reduce water pollution, which is when the sewage goes into our rivers and seas. It's not over yet. Water pollution is a much bigger problem than we see. More animals live in the water than on land, and they choke to death because of the lack of oxygen in our polluted waters. I know, it's terrible.
You may not have heard of us, but with a group of anglers from North Yorkshire, we took the last government and the Environment Agency to court, and we won. in the process, we showed that their river restoration plans, nationwide river restoration plans, were defective and unlawful. In fighting to bring back fish to one small polluted beck near Pickering, we showed that the previous government had misunderstood and misapplied the law. They've got it wrong. It was a case that should have been a turning point, but the last government couldn't accept the court's ruling, and before the general election they lodged an appeal. We had high hopes for this new government. They came into power with promises of cleaning up rivers, cracking down on illegal activity and holding polluters to account. They could have chosen to drop the appeal against us and our group of anglers in Yorkshire, but instead they're spending your money on defending the previous government's inaction in court. We want to make it clear that we're sick of empty promises and endless bureaucratic drift. We want proper regulation for polluting industries, and we want it now. No more excuses, no more delay. We think that every single river should be protected from pollution, not just the big ones, but every river, every small stream across the country that's been degraded and ignored. We think that every river counts. That's our message to this government, and that's why we're going back to court in January to fight against them.
The frequent sewage spills are taking away my right to swim, and my physical and mental health suffer as a result. But it isn't just about me, or even all water users. It's much, much bigger than that. The rivers and oceans are in trouble, and that means we are too. Any threat to the oceans threatens the survival of every single person on this planet, wherever they live, whether that's on the coast or in the middle of a desert. The oceans are the lungs of the planet. They provide the air we breathe. They are the world's largest carbon sink. They provide food, jobs, livelihoods. They are a stunning natural environment full of riches, a place for recreation and discovery. What the water companies are doing to our rivers and oceans is simply unacceptable. They say they're improving the situation, but I say, rubbish! Last year, they dumped raw sewage for 3.6 million hours, more than double the previous year. They say they have to dump sewage when it rains heavily. I say, rubbish! And a very powerful message, loud and clear, to the water companies and to the powers that be. We want clean water. Not just coming out of our taps, but in our rivers and seas and on our beaches. Please give it up for Chris Packham, everyone!
Let's hear it for Katrina, our host this afternoon. Why are you here? What's washed you up on the banks of our capital's river today? And what have you come to say? Well, I stand here for the speechless. Today I speak for the mayflies, the minnows, the moorhens, the bitterns, the bunting, the bream. I'm murmuring for the tadpoles, warbling for the warblers, whispering for the reeds and the rushes, bubbling for the chub, rudd, roach and dace. I'm here, spouting for the sticklebacks, trying to sparkle and shine in the murky, slow flow of a stream suffocated by sardage waste. Blindly spinning in search of the last patch of gravel beneath the tons of silt that is washed from the fields, lost in the gloop of glyphosate, gulping neonics and nitrogen. I'm here to shout for the trout, of the Trent, the Tees, the Thames and the Tyne. For those fish whose sides don't shine down in the soup of sewage spilled by the greedy to clog the gills of those beautiful creatures that give anglers thrills and kingfishers meals. I'm here, squawking for the heron, stock still in the shallows of a stagnant pond, staring at a mat of impenetrable algae, starving. I'm here for the otter, curled up at the end of the lake, whose poisoned livers ache, whose stinging eyes can't make out the pipes of the industries that have relentlessly and illegally pumped waste into its ancient water world. Today I've come to scream for the seals, at the seabirds. I'm screeching for those stranded on the strand line amongst the flotsam of plastic that those tides will tow back and forth for all of our forevers. I'm singing, like the siren for the forlorn, those floating beyond the surf, bodies so corrupted with chemicals to be rendered infertile. I'm howling for the sterilised, the stupefied, the lost and lonely whales and dolphins rolling in agony, in toxic misery, until they wash up to wake up our conscience on beaches strewn with ghost nets and nurdles, where they make the news but can't even rot before their plight is forgotten. I'm here to shriek for the beat of the heart of a human fetus whose nurturing placenta is infected with microplastics. I'm here wondering what those particles are doing right now in my brain. You might be wondering that too. I'm here for the paddlers. I'm here for the swimmers whose guts are churning as the bacteria boil. I'm here for all of those who are afraid to go back in the water. That life-giving liquid that falls as snow, beautiful snow, as rain, that crystal clear elixir, that precious wet necessity that pours from our taps, but has been sold down the river, has gone down the pan. Well, let me tell you what the speechless have to say. It's time to stop crying over spilled sewage. It's time to take action. We know what we need and we know what we want. We want a reform of the regulators, an immediate review and replacement of Ofwat, and we want it now. We want a complete stop put on any industry knowingly and wantonly polluting our waters for profit. We want the polluters to pay, and we want that now. We don't want new laws. We've got all the legislation that we need. What we want is for this new government to uphold and enforce those laws, and we want it now. We want every polluting industry to start investing for the long term, upgrading infrastructure, reducing water wastage and leakage, increasing efficient water use everywhere. And guess what? We want it now. Listen, we might be minnows, but together, today, we are mighty. and our message is as clear as the chalk streams of yesterday. We want our water back, and we want it back cleaner and better. I just want to say a massive thanks to the organisers, River Action. Now listen, I think you can do better than that. Let's say thank you to our organisers, River Action. To all of the other organisations that have come together to support this march. Let's hear it for the speakers that have given up their time, their energy, passion and enthusiasm on this stage. Let's hear it for the media that have turned up today. Thank you very much. And thank you to you, mighty minnows, because this is the day that we've turned up in blue. We've been polite, but next time we might be coming in brown, and we won't be quite so polite then. And I'd also like to ask you to raise the veritable roof for our missing hero, the champion of freshwater campaigning, the one and only Mr. Fergal Sharkey. And lastly, let's hear it for our water. Back, we want it cleaner and we want it better. And when do we want it? Now! Thank you very much.
I don't know how many people came today, but it felt good to be part of it. I've learnt a lot today, and I hope you have by watching this video. Starmer, it's your government.